Let's begin by welcoming everyone that's here spanning the continent to our webinar today, Equity Challenges in the Remote Learning Environment. We're going to see some strategies that are going to help all students succeed in that remote learning environment. So today, my name is Melissa Knowles, and I'm going to be your host tonight. I'll be managing the chat. So if you have any questions or comments that you add in there, please just send it to everybody. Of course, we're a small group, and I think Carolyn will be okay if we do some unmuting, and that'll be absolutely fine, as we've been doing so far. So I've worked with Social Studies Schools Service for several years, and I do all kinds of things with them. Carolyn is our presenter tonight, Carolyn Van Roden. She's been teaching for 23 years in Maryland. Currently, she is teaching 7th grade social studies. She's also taught graduate classes for Notre Dame University, but her passion is absolutely those middle schoolers in learning social studies. She works with Social Studies School Service and writes curriculum and presents webinars. This evening, we are going to examine effective strategies that we can use to overcome those challenges in equity. So, Carolyn, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you.
Thank you very much, Melissa. Hi, everybody. And I think we have one more person that's going to join us. Perfect. We are going to take a look. We have all been teaching for distance learning. And if you are still teaching at distance learning, you will appreciate this. So it has been very unique depending on the district that you are in. And so we're going to learn how we can keep this equitable for our secondary students who live in areas that are socially and economically disadvantaged. So what are some challenges that we have with online teaching? Well, number one is what I just did, technical difficulties or technical issues. I clicked too fast, but distractions and time management. I will tell you that it's February. I still have children. I'm calling for them, feel like it's a seance. And I will say, I was telling Melissa earlier that when Maryland is, my school district right now is all virtual. We're going to go back again. We come in and out. When I had the students with me at one point, I had the children online, so I didn't have a lot of children in front of me, and I printed out some worksheets. The children that had the physical worksheet in front of them were finished in 5 minutes, where the children online took them 20. So time management is very hard, and I think a lot of this is the challenge of moving back and forth on the screens. I think also it's understanding their expectations, and this in particular, you hear this on the news all the time, the lack of in-person interaction. Our students really miss that human interaction. So, and I know that some of them are very concerned about this and really would like to come into classes, and they are concerned about what's going to happen. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take a look, and I'm going to talk about some learning styles and multiple intelligence and apply some of these. So I'm hoping that you will gain some understanding of how both multiple intelligence and learning styles will help. So this is a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King. The function of education is to teach one to think intensively and to think critically. Intelligence plus character, that is the goal of true education. So we have to remember that no matter how we teach our students, whether they're in front of us or they're on a screen. So what do we need to know about our students in order to reach them? So you can type it in the chat. And there's not too many of us here, so if you would like to share, please go ahead and share. What do we need to know about our students?
Carolyn, Vivian said what level they're in.
Okay, what level they're in. Okay, right. We need to know what level, what reading level, what math level. Thank you. Anybody else? Sarah? She's got her hand raised, but she's muted. Sarah, you're muted.
Hi, yes, I'm driving. I apologize. I have an hour drive home. I think, yes. I think it's really important to know the stories of our students. I find that once I'm able to know their stories, that really helps. So I think stories.
Yes.
That's what I would share.
Absolutely. Okay.
Dr. Erin Willis said family background, which is part of that story, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Michelle said learning environment and digital literacy abilities.
Right.
Ryan said anything you can know about a student is helpful, but certainly what they have learned and how they learn is great. And Veda said, I hope I didn't say that incorrectly. She said home information and background information and their learning style.
Yes. And that makes a big difference. And the more we know about our students, and I appreciate, thank you very much, everybody. I think we have a couple more in the chat. Is there any others?
Dina said their interests.
Yes. Yes. Learning what your students are interested in. And we'll talk about, I actually wrote a quote from one of my lessons this week. When you're interested in something, you really want to learn about it. And when you know what your children are interested in, you can tap into that. All right. So we have to know what our students are. So student learning, we've talked a little bit about, and a couple of you mentioned this. What does learning look like? What does it sound like? What does it feel like? If you're a high school teacher, if you teach science, think about, or, I know for me, and I'll wait, people are a little quiet. I know for when I was in the classroom, I'm teaching middle school, my students were very engaged. They were very interactive. They wanted to put things together, make plays, create projects. We have a couple.
Ryan said, sounds noisy, looks active, feels great.
Yes.
Vivian said, students are talking and engaged, asking questions and wondering. And Dina said, it's busy. It looks different for everyone and it's never really the same.
Absolutely. So based on just a couple of things that you heard, is teaching an art or a science?
So far, everyone has voted both.
Both. Yes, absolutely. It is both. And so we're going to take a look at learning styles. Now, this is something that I really love. And when you take a look, you're looking at how your children perceive and process the information, because we all perceive and process information very differently. So when this pandemic first hit, I had colleagues who just gravitated to this. This was the best thing that ever happened. And others who this was not their way of teaching or learning. They were definitely hands-on, people interaction. So we have to, with this change in how we are teaching, take a look at what we can do differently. And as teachers, we should never say, is a student smart, but rather, how is this student smart? So we were in a meeting and somebody said, I can't believe this student was gifted and talented because they're not doing well. And I said, put them back in the building. They will be. This is like taking a fish and putting them on land. They just are not doing well with this. So learning our students' learning styles. So why is it so important that we learn about how our students learn? Because we can make some changes in our presentations. We can make some changes in what we do to instruct them. I teach middle school, and one of the things that I find is my students love to play games. They love to play things that are competitive. So I actually, it doesn't matter whether it is competitive, I found a way to find different games for them to play so that they could do that. I find that I told them they had to make up a joke using historical information. And I was really very impressed. One of my little girls said, do you know how you divide Rome? With a pair of Caesars. And, that was just a couple of them that they came up with, but they took the information. So knowing what your students like and getting them interested in what it is. And I see a couple other people put something in the chat, Melissa.
Yes, thank you. No, I don't see anything yet.
Okay. All right. So I always find that I have my students complete a learning style inventory. And this year I didn't do it right away. I usually do it right when the kids come in. So I find out what their learning style is and also their multiple intelligence. But we're going to take a look at learning style. So you're actually going to complete it first to see how it works. And Melissa is going to put the link in the chat for you to click on. When you click on this, hopefully you all can still see mine, it will actually open up to this and you'll see where it says to start the assessment. So I'm going to give you all a few minutes to navigate through that. And I know that somebody said that they were driving, so you don't have to do this. You can just drive carefully.
And I think Dina had suggested something earlier. That's the key to how they learn. When you said that there was a chat, I think it may have just been a little delayed for me. So that is the key to how they learn, their learning style. Good job.
Yes. So give me a few minutes to do this. When you're finished, just let us know if you don't mind. You can put your hand up and put it in the chat.
Oh, that's a great idea, Vivian. Vivian's putting her learning style in the chat box, so we know she's done and we know that she's a visual learner.
Yay, very good, thank you. Yes, if you're finished, good. I see Ryan was finished, so tell us what kind of learner you are.
Also visual, interesting.
I'll give you all another minute, and I know not everybody is finished.
I have trouble with these. I think I overthink them. Can't choose. I don't know. Veda is tactile kinesthetic.
Okay.
Jean is also visual. Dr. Kyra Caldwell Templeton is a processor. Oh, so it takes a while for her to finish those type of quizzes. Understand. Dr. Erin Willis is also. It must be that doctor brain.
Rethinking everything, right, I know. All right. I know that some of you are still working on it, but as you see, just by looking at the few that we have here, we have very different learners. And some of our students take a little bit longer too when they find their learning style. Now, how many of you were surprised by your learning style?
Michelle is our first auditory.
Oh, wow, yes. Was she surprised?
Not surprised. It just popped in.
Right, I was going to say, is anybody else surprised?
So far, no one has been surprised.
Right.
They all knew themselves.
They all knew themselves. Some of our students are very surprised. I know when I did this, a lot of my kids said, we don't like to read. That's what they thought visual meant. And I said, no, sometimes when you see something, you remember it. And I thought it's very interesting. One of the things I did this with my grad students is I kind of chuckled. I would have some people sit back in the back of the classroom and they would just sit there, never take a note, never put, and they really, I was teaching a legal issues class and they all remembered it because they were auditory learners. And then I had others that were taking notes. That was me, very, rapidly taking my notes. So it's kind of nice to find out your learning style and to know that one isn't better than the other. So I see you have a couple other comments.
Dr. Willis is a visual learner and he is not surprised.
No. So our learning style is our preference for how we perceive and receive storing and retrieving information. And there is no one that is better than another. So I always say that I used to say this, if you could hold your hands up like this, put them down on the table if you can, and think if you had to put your hands together, which one of your thumbs would be on the top if you folded your hands? Would your right thumb or your left thumb be on top? Go ahead and do it now, unless you're driving. So my left thumb is on the top. And if you switch it, it's very uncomfortable. I'm right-handed. It doesn't mean that one is better than the other. It just means that's how you are. So when I've done that with people, they were like, oh, wow. So is your intelligence fixed at birth?
No, I don't think so.
It is not. You can learn things and you can become more intelligent as your time goes on. So, and I'm going to move on with a couple things with multiple intelligence. I'm just watching my time here. Understanding and respecting, utilize diversity towards your academic excellence. Think about the children that you have in front of you. find those different things with your students. And that's why I said knowing your students and who you have. I did this class after class, and I remember one of my classes, they were mostly auditory learners. Well, coming as a visual person, that was very hard for me. I said, wow, these guys are auditory. So you have to change some of the ways that you teach. So another thing to take a look at is multiple intelligence. And I know most of us have heard about Howard Gardner, and he talks about this intelligence isn't fixed at birth. You can improve it. There's 9 different ways that's been added, one more ways, 8 new ways. And I'm sure that after this pandemic, we'll talk about more with technology. But our multiple intelligence brings attention to the content, looking at our learners' intelligence. It doesn't look at how people perceive and process. It looks at the things that they like. So a learning style focuses on how our students or how anybody processes the information, but it loses focus of the content of the information. So the 2 of these need to be married together. You need to look at multiple intelligence and learning styles, not just one or the other. And so I always say that having a combination of your learning styles, this is how our students process the information. Some of you are, Dr. Willis is a visual learner. I'm just going to pull that out because I just remembered he was. And multiple intelligence, we're going to look at that. Your capacity for finding something that you really like, the interest. And a couple of you mentioned that earlier about the interest. So what is your multiple intelligence? You might have remembered what is your milk? What would you like with milk? So if you are a visual and spatial intelligence, you're somebody who likes to draw a lot. You're very artistic. You like to look at a map and analyze it. You like to make posters and things like that. If you're verbal linguistic, your ability to use and write and speak the language is very important. Students usually do very well who like to read fiction and nonfiction. They enjoy writing, doing journaling. If you're logical and mathematical, the ability to discern between your logical and numerical patterns. Students who do well with mathematics, problem solving, even looking at experimenting, scientists, okay? Even those that like to question, why did Alexander the Great do what he did? Why didn't he do this? They're very interested in taking that next step, even in social studies. So that's what I'm telling you. It's not just mathematical, it's looking at the logic in it. Bodily kinesthetics. Our students do well with sports and dance, acting and role playing. Having students do, I've always done this in the past. I do like skits with the students, and I actually did this online with them. And I was really impressed. I said, I need a couple volunteers to role play. And that's kind of hard when you're in distance like this. They did a nice job with it. Musical intelligence. There are a lot of great musical, very talented people who have taken songs and they have adjusted it for social studies. So I'm a big fan of Mr. Nicky. And students who love to use simulations and creative songwriting. I've done this. I've had my students, they love to do raps for me. I had a young man last week. He sang a song for the whole group. I was very impressed. He was the only one that has done that, virtually, and it was really neat. And it was really nice to see and hear. Interpersonal intelligence. Now, this is a hard one. Students work well. In cooperative learning. They like to work with other people. They like to brainstorm. This is a challenge for us right now, especially with distance learning. Once we're back in the classroom, these students will do much better in the classroom, group work, and things like that. It doesn't mean that they can't do well with distance learning. It means that we have to think of ways to put them together in the breakout rooms, working and coming up with ideas. Now, interpersonal intelligence is finding your ability to be self-reflective, be aware of your own feelings. A lot of this is journal writing, discovering how you feel, doing independent projects, finding things that they're interested in, putting themselves, if you are studying history, in the place of a political leader. A naturalist. This is your ability to recognize and categorize plants and animals. They usually do very well with nature and environmental sciences. An existentialist. These are people who look through and see the big picture of human existence. And they find a lot in spiritual artifacts. They personalize information and they connect it to their own beliefs. So, before I go on, does anybody have any questions or comments or any thoughts about multiple intelligence and learning styles? No? Okay. All right. I am going to share how to create a concept map. And this is something that I have done with my students. It's a little different than what we've done. And I actually had the students do it on a PowerPoint slide when they finished. So what I had them do, and I'm going to show you a video. When they create this, you'll see this concept map. So I'm going to give you this example, and it's not that this is what you're going to do, but I wanted to make this an example. If you're doing a lesson on obesity, you're going to give the kids examples of who, how many, the reasons for it, the effects of it, okay? I'll show you some lists and categories of the examples. You can brainstorm with your students. This is what a concept map looks like, and there are some that are a little bit easier. This is a little more detailed, and I hope you all can see this. In the center is your concept, your idea of obesity, okay? You'll see that up here, these are the examples and the effects of it, okay? Who has it over here? You categorize them, okay? The causes of it, how to prevent it, okay? You'll note that it is right in the center. Now, I'm going to show you a video clip about implementing a concept map. You can use this with any concept you want. You can use it with colonies. You can use it with leadership. You can use it with revolutions. Big concepts that you want your students to engage in. So let me just, I have this pulled up here.
How to create a concept map. What is a concept map? A concept map is a visual way to organize thoughts and make connections between ideas. How can I use a concept map? You can use a concept map to brainstorm and organize ideas, create an outline for an assignment, or test your knowledge in review for exams. How do I make a concept map? By following these 7 steps. Step 1. Start by identifying the main topic and brainstorm everything you know about it. Use all relevant content from lectures, texts, and other course material. Step 2. Organize your information into main points. Step 3. Start creating your map. Begin with your main topic, then branch out to major points and supporting details. Step 4. Review your map and look for more connections. Use arrows, symbols, and colors to show relationships between ideas. Step 5. Include details. Definitions, equations, and diagrams are all useful. Step 6. Analyze and improve your map. Ask yourself, how do these ideas fit together? Have you made all necessary connections? Is the map accurate, logical, and detailed? Step 7. As you learn more, update your concept map to reflect your better understanding. Try talking out loud about your concept map. Ask yourself, can I describe the connections between these ideas? Following these 7 simple steps will allow you to create a concept map to help you study. For more information, get in touch.
Okay, so 7 different ways, 7 ideas to come up with this. And what I'm going to have you all do is go into breakout groups, and you're going to create a concept map as a group. I know there's a few of us here, Melissa's going to put us in the groups. What I want you to do is think about strategies, and that's what you're going to put as your concept, strategies to help students. So you can just write strategies in the center. How do we help our students succeed in this remote learning? What are the things that we can do? So with your breakout group, you are going to come up with a concept map. What we're going to do is, Melissa, if you want to give us about 10 minutes once you put us in the breakout group,
Okay.
bring us back. That would be great.
Okay. All right. There we go.
right. Thank you, Melissa.
You're
Hey,
welcome.
I was in a breakout group. We had Dina. Dina and Sarah Michelle had some phenomenal ideas. And so I'm sure that the other groups did also. So Dina, you want to splash out a couple of the ideas that you would have put on our concept map? Oh, you're muted.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay.
Yes, so some of the things that we share with our teachers for strategies with students is the waterfall. So it's really a chat with a wait time. And so the teacher gives a prompt, you provide students time to solve it, and then the students type it in the chat, but they don't hit enter until the teacher says waterfall. And that way you're getting authentic responses instead of just the same old students who are always answering and then everyone else is quiet or mimicking after them. Another thing that we said was the show me. So if they have a whiteboard or anything and you ask a question and it could be a formative assessment, they show it to you and then you take a screenshot. So then you know who to take into a breakout room to see who's understood the concept and who needs a little bit more help in order to get that concept. And as much standing up as you can do. So how do we get this screen away and connecting with our students? They said dissolving the screen, we stand up. So wherever you're at, just stand up, have them see you walk around like you would in a classroom and take that pressure that exists off with the screen. And cold calling, tell them we're going to read something and I'm going to cold call after we read this. And cold call means fair game. I'm going to call on anybody, but because your voice matters to me, because what you have to say matters to me. And that's the message, not because I want to catch you while you're sleeping, but because I care what you think.
Sarah also had a really good one. Sarah, would you like to share what you had?
Oh, sure. So I guess two things that I shared was that I used Pear Deck to kind of help the flow of the class, and with every slide, so the students log in and on each slide there could be a way for them to answer a question. It can be to drag something, to type, to answer a multiple choice question, and sometimes they're silly or just jokes or checks for understanding, but you can answer anonymously, and so that helps some of my more shy students share what they're feeling or what they're thinking regarding what we're talking about in a way that's not publicly matching their name to what they're saying. And then you can also share their answers without sharing their names. So you can highlight different answers, and you as a teacher know who the answers are coming from. So you can you can praise someone or praise an idea if you'd like. And then I shared that I've been trying something this week, which is to give my students or have my students volunteer to take on leadership roles. Because I just told them, like, hey guys, you come into Zoom and you're like sitting there waiting for the information from me, and we should be learning as a community. So how can we help learn this? Just learn together. So I had one student be a heart helper. I couldn't think of a more clever word, so that's the one I came up with. And what she did was, her job was to check in with students who had their videos off, or who seemed like they might just not really be answering, or also students who didn't make it to class. And so she would just send them a message to check in with them to see how they're doing. And so at the beginning of the class today, I was the only one with my video on, and then at one point everybody had their videos on, so it seemed to work.
And Heidi added in the chat that Flipgrid is a creative way to get them to express their thoughts. Yes, it is. Yep. I had students make a, agree phrase. Clarence agrees. Yes, absolutely. Make a commercial. Have them do that. Okay. Vivian, do you have anything you want to share?
Well, I think Ms. Harris has her notes for her group. I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Ms. Harris.
We talked about a few strategies One thing we said was lessons should be engaging for those that you have in front of you as well as on the computer virtually. Meaningful feedback, interactive, like you said, with the Flipgrid, which you can then, even before that, you can have breakout rooms, put them into the rooms and have them work together that way. And we talked about choice boards as well, giving the kids an option so they have some ownership in the project and they can pick something that they want to do and that they feel comfortable in doing, and they're still learning and they're still showing you that they met their learning target through a different success criteria. What else did we say? Having classroom discussions so that the kids are forced to participate and be active. Getting the family involved. I think someone said that as well. What else did I miss? I think that's it. Did I miss anything?
No, you had a lot of great ideas.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Does anybody else have anything you would like to share? Okay. Some amazing ideas that you all came up with. And think about, somebody said being like a first-year teacher all over again. We have a country full of first-year teachers. And that's sometimes good and sometimes very challenging on us, being that first-year teacher, but we learn a lot in these times. So remember, teach to all of your students. Look at their learning styles and their intelligence. Ask them. Do something as simple as what I did and ask them to learn, because I think some of them don't know their learning styles. Try to differentiate. Get the students to do exactly what they did today. Put it in the chat or take a poll, okay? And try to differentiate your lessons. Think about a Flipgrid. Think about, Pear Deck. Think about games, whatever it is. Think about how you repurpose your existing content. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You might just have to inflate it differently. Okay. Take some of the stuff that you already have. Some of it works. You have to think about how you're presenting it. And so look for tools like quizzes, assessments, simulations. There are a lot of ready-made course templates out there, and you can customize and change them just for your own content, because we are like first-year teachers working very quickly and very hard, and demand more than you really expect. I'm sure you've all heard the news, like we're not really teaching. Our governor came out and said our students haven't learned anything this past year. We were very upset. Yes, they have. We've demanded more. We ask our kids to do a lot and they're doing it. Focus on the successes. And when you have good teaching, our students aren't going to fail. I think what Sarah that said, she had a student, she said, I trusted her and let her teach the class. And Dana said, absolutely, you learn more when you're teaching than any other way. Absolutely. Let our students take charge in that. So, and when they do something wrong, say, this is one of the best mistakes I've seen today, and laugh. And we can laugh at ourselves too. So I want to thank all of you for coming out tonight. I really appreciate it. It's been so nice meeting in small groups and meeting with a larger group and hearing some of your great ideas. And I hope you all have picked up and learned something to take back with your students. So again, I appreciate you all coming out. Melissa, do you have anything you want to add?
I sure do. I want to thank you so much, Carolyn Van Wyk. This has been just as fabulous as your last presentation. I appreciate all the thought and knowledge that goes into your presentation with us tonight. I hated to use that word twice. I was trying to find another one, but I couldn't do it. So thank you so much. And it is so important now to keep all those things in mind. And I love sharing as a group because we've all got great ideas. So that was very helpful. I'm going to go ahead. Carolyn and I will stay on answering questions if needed. I'm going to go ahead and conclude the session. And in the chat box, I'm going to add the evaluation link so we can continue improving. I'm also going to add a email for If you want a professional development certificate, you can email help@socialstudies.com so you can get credit for your time tonight. Also, I want to let you know that this session has been recorded, and so in a couple days you should get a link. Feel free to share it with anybody that you think could use it, or rewatch it if there were some things you wanted to revisit or have forgotten. So we really appreciate everyone being here tonight. This was a really great crowd for participation, unlike what we see sometimes with those off cameras. So thank you for not acting like your students sometimes. So I'm going to go ahead and pause that recording here.